Hello lovely souls and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss whether these booktok books are actually worth it. And no, this is not going to be your typical booktok video because I will be brutally honest. And I know it's going to be a bit controversial because I know there's some on here that most of you guys really love, but I really don't, and I will be honest about it because that is what you can expect from me. I'm not gonna lie to fit a norm. Sorry, not sorry. The first one that we are discussing today is acotar. Now keep in mind we are discussing whether these are worth the hype, not whether they are particularly good. I have a very mixed opinion about this series because some of these books were really good and then others, they were not it. Let's start with the first book. I did not like this one, but I stuck it out and I decided to read the rest because everyone was so hyped about it. But this was incredibly boring. Only the last 100 pages, that's where it got entertaining. But then the second one, this is why my feelings are mixed, because of the second one. Now this one, incredible. It just made me giggle and want to kick my feet. So I mean, you gotta give it some credit. You gotta give credit where credit is due. But then the third one, horrible. I DNF'd it for 4 years. I started acotar in the first year that I started reading, so when I was 16. I picked it up again at 20. I DNF'd this one because it was so incredibly boring and nothing happened. And it was super weird. The love interests were doing the spicy stuff in the middle of a battlefield. I am so confused about that. But this one is just what dunked the series for me and why I would not say it is worth the hype. It is really chunky and I can't remember for the life of me what happens in this. And the ending was also quite disappointing. I will be honest, when I read fantasy, people need to, otherwise what are the stakes? What is the game? What are the stakes if everyone just survives? No. And we lost a character or 4, but not so important characters, I needed a core character to, like in Throne of Glass. That I can stand by, but when the ending is just so predictable and nothing bad happens, nah. I just realized my closet was still open. Now the next one is also going to be really controversial. Don't come for me. The Twisted series. Now I have a lot to say. I started with Twisted Games because the tropes just spoke to me. It is a bodyguard ex-princess kind of book. And I thought, oh my gosh, that should be so good. And this one, it wasn't bad. It was good. The only thing I would say, I miss the romance. Like, for me, a good romance book is like 70% yearning, 20% of like fingers brushing, and then maybe like 10% kissy and then 5% spicy stuff. But this was like no yearning. and I don't like that. I want more romance. Can we please petition for more romance in books and less spice? Well, spice is good only if there has been good yearning before it, a good romance. It's not a bad book, but I would not read it again because for me there was just too much spice, and I know that is why these books get hyped up. The spice as well was sometimes a bit weird. Like, felt like if I were Bridget in the book, I would feel so degraded, feel so embarrassed because of how he would treat me. That is just insane. I know everyone hypes it up and everyone's like, oh my gosh, that scene is amazing. It's just not my cup of tea. Meh. But I thought it is so hyped up, I'm gonna give it another chance. Enter Twisted Lies. This was just way worse. If you compare these, this is the holy grail and this is just shit. The romance that this thing had completely evaporated in this. No shame to the people who like to read that, because I respect everyone's book opinion. This one, I really did not like. There was way too much spice. I didn't really feel love in this book either. Just not my thing. Are these worth the hype? Keep in mind, I've only read 2 and I value romance and yearning. No. Now, the next one is Fourth Wing. You can't make a popular booktok book video without Fourth Wing, And this one, yeah, worth the hype. Wonderful book. I finished this in 2 days in the summer and I was laying outside on like a bench all day long in the sun, tanning with wine, and this book, oh, wonderful. So the other ones I don't have with me currently because my mom is reading those. I finally convinced her to read them, which I am very proud of because she never reads. And then the difference between this and the Twisted series is that I do not feel like the FMC was degraded in here at all. Like, she was in control and respected in those spicy scenes. And that, people, is how it should be. In real life, at least, you know? I've actually never read a romance and fantasy series that mixes both of them just quite as well as this one. I have also never read a book that makes me feel like this one because people are constantly asking me, oh, what do I read after I finished Fourth Wing? Darkling, I have no clue. But is this worth the hype? Yes. Are the second and the third books not as good as the first one? Also, yes, I must say. So I'm hoping the author redeems the story in book 4 and 5. But would I still recommend? Heck yeah. Now, next up is the Dreamland Billionaires series. That looks like this, better known as well as the fine print. I was skeptical at first, because if you told me 5 years ago I would read a romance about 3 dudes inheriting their amusement park, I would have laughed in your face. Because I thought it was going to be so cringe. Actually, the amusement park side of it was a positive side of a story. I don't know, it just added to the dynamic of everything. I think it does get better with each book that you evolve. There are a lot of more heavy and difficult topics that appear in these books. There was a lot of spice, I'm not gonna lie to you. However, there was still a lot of yearning. So would I recommend these? Yes. Are they worth the hype? Yeah. We have arrived at my child, my darling girl. Sure, no less. If this series is worth the hype, that's not even a question, because it's a yes. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. It's the best series I have ever read, and I feel like a gremlin killing it, you know? My precious. No, but seriously, it's such a good series. The fantasy, wonderful. The author introduces things in book 1 that she brings back 5,000 pages later. The romance is also wonderful. Like, there is a bit, but not much. There's like, I think, maybe 1 or 2 spicy scenes in the entire thing. But you also don't miss the spicy things because there is enough yearning to cover for it. There are multiple love interests, but in this one, you truly cannot tell with which one she will end up. I must warn you, if you read it, you will gain emotional damage. And you will never find anything as good as this ever in your life again. So this ruins reading forever. But would I recommend? Yes. Is it the best series I have ever read? Yes. Is it worth the hype? Also yes. Oh, side note also about this series. The FMC, wonderful. She is so sassy, because you know what I hate about romanticy so often? That the FMC is like, oh no, save me. Oh my gosh, I hate dresses and pretty jewelry. This girl? Nah, yeah, bet your ass that she is gonna wear the pretty dresses and wear the pretty jewelry and spend all her savings on jewelry and chocolates. Like, girl is wonderful and she saves her own ass. Now, the next one, I feel like I've done anyway a bit of a dishonor in my video, and we're gonna redeem that. With the striker. This book, yes, I liked. I loved, actually, because it is chunky, but there is also a lot of romance and yearning, and the MMC respects his wifey. It is a perfect amount of spice, but also the perfect amount of yearning and romance. What I really like about this series is that it is about European football. You know how the sports romances are always like hockey, American football, blah blah blah. But like this I can relate, because we don't have hockey, I think, and American football in my country like all that much. But on my TV, you can watch a lot of football, and I watch a lot of football because my mom loves it. And then I love that I get a book about it, because my boyfriend also plays football, and that's just pretty cool. Now, the last one is The Cruel Prince. I only have the second and the third book of the series because I read the first one in ebook. This one is also definitely worth the hype. With a little side note, I gotta tell you that. It is marketed as romantasy on booktok, but that is not really the case, you know, not really. Kinda, not really. But if you go into it thinking it's going to be romantic like Fourth Wing, you're gonna be sad, because that is not the case at all. Like, at all. It's more like the Throne of Glass version. Like, you have a main fantasy plot with a teeny tiny romance side plot. Now, is it actual enemies to lovers? Because I see a lot of discussion about actual versus not really enemies to lovers. This is actual enemies to lovers, because he bullies her in the first book. That's why it's called The Cruel Prince. He is actually cruel. Do I feel the romance at the end? Yes, I do. What this book did for me was like really change my perspective on female main characters, because Jude is such an extraordinary character. Growing up, most of the fantasy things I watched were based on books written by men, and I am not saying that it's always the case, but those books were often written in a time that was way back, and a time where things were different, which also caused that the female characters in those movies, they were so soft and needed saving, and always like the pretty woman who needs saving by the mighty elven prince. You know, that kind of stuff. And I really do not like it. I want to see female rage. I want to see women who fight. That's what I want. And that is what this series gave me for the very first time in my entire life. That being said, it is more of a political fantasy than a romantasy. All that said, would I recommend? Heck yeah. Especially if you're a young girl who needs cool female main characters. I truly hope I helped you pick out your next read and decide whether you would think these books are going to be worth it for you. If I did help you, please consider subscribing to my channel and giving it a like. Now, if you want to see more short form content of me, I also have a TikTok. I will put it somewhere on the screen. Bye!